Hi everyone and welcome to the Scrapbooking Photographer. Linda's my name and today I am taking part in a YouTube hop to celebrate 500 subscribers for Cassandra Tooth of Crazy Craft Obsession. Now, Crazy Craft Obsession is a craft shop in Australia and they do ship to Australia and New Zealand, and Cassandra has said that they will be having a giveaway to celebrate her reaching 500 subscribers. So check out their page. I'll put a link in the description for you to be able to do that. Now, to celebrate Cassandra's milestone, she's asked that we either use mixed media or scraplift her or rainbows. So today I'm going to be working with one photo on a page of us with some relatives at the Waitomo caves in New Zealand, and looking through Cassandra's Instagram, or the Crazy Craft Obsession Instagram page, I found this layout which I thought could work quite nicely. I'm going to change it a little bit because I'm going to put it on a black background, and I'm going to use some watercolour paper to do the strips behind. So let's get started. As I mentioned, I'm going to use watercolour paper to make the background for the strips and things, and I'm combining 5 different distress oxides here with a little bit of water. I've got antique linen, which I'm starting with, and then mix it with a little bit of mustard seed. And I'm just spreading this base colour in different places on the sheet before adding some of the peacock feathers, and then kitsch flamingo and faded jeans lastly. So that's just making sure that there's a nice spread of the colours before I smoosh it all over the mat to get the rest of it onto the paper. And then it's lacking a little bit of the lighter colour and the pink, so I've just put a little bit more on there and wet it and spread that around in the gaps. And then just to finish off, I'm going to add a bit more with some water and smush it all over the gaps. So the beauty of watercolour paper is that things don't get absorbed into the paper and they dribble and drip all over the place, so we end up with this lovely colour. With just adding a little bit more of the kitsch flamingo with some water, I'll just fill in around the gaps before I'll leave it to dry overnight. So hopefully that will look good tomorrow. Okay, so I've left that overnight to dry, and I just love the colours and the way they've all blended together, and I think it's going to look really awesome on the black page with my photo. But wait, there's more. I'm not going to stop there. I just want to put a little bit of embossing and silver over it so that we can then cut it up a bit later. So what I have found is this stamp, which is one of my favourites, called Perfectly Imperfect Patterns, and I'm actually going to put a few of them onto one big block and do them all at the same time, mainly because doing a whole page, it's really hard to know what you've done and what you haven't done when you're putting the Versamark glue on. So I'm going to do it in blocks, random blocks. This is my 3-inch block, and I'm just putting these stamps on here. I've got this one which is kind of a crosshatch one, and it doesn't have to be straight because we're not going to be worried about any of that. Just going to have to move that over a little bit. Okay, we need something else here. It's got this little dot there, so we'll put that in there. Okay, before I start, I'm just going to use this pouch. It's called an anti-static pouch, and I'm just going to rub it over the top of the dry watercolour paper, and that will ensure that the embossing powder stays where I want it to. So just starting down the bottom here, I'm going to ink up or glue up the stamp, and I'm just going to start randomly going 1, 2, 3. What? I'm not going to do the whole page, I've decided. I'm going to leave a couple of clear strips. So we're working our way up to the top. So then putting the embossing powder liberally over the top. And spreading the embossing powder over all the parts that we've put the glue on. So you can see the shape of the stamps emerging from behind all the powder as it gets shaken off back onto the mat. And just make sure that we've only got the powder where we need it before getting the blow dryer out and letting it do its magic. So it's really rewarding when you're doing this to see it gradually transform from the grey powder into the silver sparkle, and it looks really effective. So I'll just finish that all off. Okay, so now it's all dry, and look at the glitter and the sparkle on that. So that's going to look really cool when we turn it into strips. So I did want some that were plain, so I didn't put any embossing powder over this side. So we're going to cut one wider strip and then several smaller ones. So just to remind you, this is the look we're script lifting. So that's the bit I'm going to put on the side, and then these smaller bits coming out. Starting with the wide piece, I started at 3 inches and then moved it into 2 3/4 just to get the best part of the silver. And the other strips I think need to be about 1/2 inch wide, so it's easier to measure that on the right hand side of the trimmer. So I've just split them all up ready to go. So they look really cool. Using the Spectrum Noir silver paint marker, it's really cool to be able to do the edge. The nib is almost like a compact paintbrush, so you can easily use it to go around the edge, and that just gives it a little bit of a highlight to go against the black piece. Now it's not the whole length because the watercolour paper is only 11 inches long, so but that's okay. The black gives us a nice frame around it, and then I'll line these little strips up and see how they're going to look. Obviously I'm going to trim them so that they go into an arrow towards the end, but just to get an idea of how they look, and mix up the ones with the silver on with the plain ones. I'll also turn some of them upside down too, so that we don't end up with too much yellow or blues together. So just really mixing them up. And then trimming them to make that arrow head. I'll take 1 inch off the first one, which gives a 1/2 inch gap top and bottom. And then the second one I'll take 2 inches off, so it just makes it another 1/2 inch shorter as we go down. And I'll keep doing that, which is a little bit of a more angled arrow, I think, than what Cassandra had in hers, but that's okay. So I'm just going to try the photo on top, and yep, it's going to look the way I want it to. So I'll carry on with all the bits, and then when they're done, just spread them out so that they are fairly even. There's 10 of them in all, and so they'll spread out really nicely, and I've got all these other ones left over to use in a companion page, which will be brilliant when I come to do it. Just before I stick them down, I'm going to use some gloss white spray to simulate some glowworms in the background. So just tapping them off the edge of the dropper gives a nice fine drop all the way around, and I'll put that over to dry, and while it's drying I can get on with the journaling box and other bits and pieces. So the journaling box I've made, which is white, and I'm just going to go around the edge again with the silver paint marker. So it just helps highlight the edge of it and get rid of that harsh cut edge. And I'll do the journaling before I put it into the album. So our glowworms are dry in the background, and now I can start sticking down all these strips. So I'll start with the wide one, and I think this is going to look awesome. I'm really liking the way that it's coming together. There'll be lots of inspiration too from everybody else on this hop, and I think it will be quite a big hop. So make sure you check out the links that are in the description so that you can see what everybody else has come up with to help Cassandra celebrate her 500 subbies. There'll be loads to learn from and heaps of ideas, I'm sure. So I'll just skip forward to when this is all finished and stuck on. Then we're going to mount the photo. Now I want to bring a little bit more white in apart from just the journaling box so that it combines with the companion page when I do it, which will have a white background. So I'm just quickly mounting the photo in a frame of white, but then to help make it pop, I'm also going to add a little bit of glacier. Now, because the Close to My Heart papers are double-sided, if I tear around the outside like I'm doing, it will show the white core and the inside of the paper. So if I put that around the outside, it brings in a little bit more white and helps make it pop. Now I also realized that the journaling box I had was too small, so I have made a bigger one of a different shape so that I can pop that in there and still see the strips above it and put the photo in below it and have a little bit overhanging. So again, a little bit closer to what Cassandra's is like. So the title is the next thing we're going to do, and have any of you got one of these old title topias from Creative Memories? I love it, and I've got it in my stash to use with the old silver stickers that I also have left over, and always a great feeling to be using stash. So if I put the Waitomo word onto the glacier paper, and the title topia makes it really easy to get it straight, and then you can whip it out from underneath and voila. So then I'm just going to tear around the outside so it matches the outside of the photo, what I did there. And I'll stick that in place, just leaving a little bit of room underneath for the word caves. I like to mix up different fonts and different sizes of alphabets in the titles. So for this little word of caves, I'm using the matching small silver letters, and I've stuck it onto a piece of glacier but left a bit of space above it so that I can tuck it underneath the word Waitomo, and that gives us the full title of Waitomo Caves. Now I just want to add a few flowers, and funnily enough, in my stash I found these flowers that coordinate beautifully. So I'm just going to pop them around in different places and put in some silver and clear sparkly gems. Now I do have two different sizes of gems to go with the two different sizes of flowers. Here comes my cat Morty for a cameo appearance. I felt that big flower on the left needed something a bit smaller inside it, so I'm adding an extra layer in there. And then we've got two clusters of flowers, so I want to make a third up on the top there, which I think will help balance the whole page. So I'm just going to have them going over the edge, and then when they're stuck on, I'll just turn the page over and use my scissors to trim off the excess. And then I can add some gems to them as well. And I think that third cluster just gives us that nice visual triangle to finish the page off nicely. So there's my page all completed. Thank you so much for watching, and congratulations again to Cassandra on reaching her 500 subbies. Happy crafting, everyone!